Okay, this is Gareth on about elite sport participation. So, how did you get into the elite standard of a football academy?
From a young age, when I was involved in my school teams, when I was like 8, 9, a lot of pro clubs come into young primary schools and do free coaching sessions, and then they pick up players from there and invite them to elite centres, and then if you do well there, they invite you to a trial, and then they progress you into the academy of like the 9s and the 10s official, so you sign a contract for 1 or 2 years, and then they do regulation like checks every 2 years to see if you're progressing enough to get to the next level.
Okay. So, in comparison to 10 years ago, do you reckon it's harder now to exceed from a grassroots level to the elite level?
I would say it's much harder now because there's a lot more money in sport, especially football. So clubs aren't really trying to develop young players as much. They're trying to buy the best players, which have already been developed, so 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, for like 30, 40 million, as opposed to teaching young 15, 16-year-olds to develop to be the next talents. So there's less opportunity for them. However, there's still opportunity, but there's less because people want the best. They don't want to develop the best.
So, you've just explained your method to get to the elite standard, but what other methods would you say there are to get to that standard?
To get to the upper standard, so there's the young age of like you can develop for the academies, but there's also the age of when you're like 19, 20. A lot of people say that's too old to get into a professional game. But there's a lot of case studies where people like 20 years old played non-league football and still got paid for it because that's what you get paid non-league football, and then played well in front of the right people. And poorer clubs in like the Conference and League Two, they would pick you up because you're free or very cheap to buy and you're good enough to play at that level. So they take you on and then they pay you a fair wage and you end up getting your job.
As a player of an elite standard, what would you say have been the benefits of being at this standard?
The benefits are it teaches you aspects that you can put into your whole life. For example, the motivation of getting up early in the morning to train, to eat right, to think about things, go to bed early before games, like watch your games over again to make sure you've done things well. And then you take those aspects into other parts of your life. For example, your schoolwork. You wake up early to complete work well, you recheck it to make sure you understand it, and you put those aspects in your life which makes you a better person in general.
And finally, with Sport England always pushing for more sports participation, do you reckon we will have more elite athletes in the country within the next 10 years?
Yeah, I think we do, because Sport England are pushing for increasing participation in England for sports. Facilities are better. There's more schemes to bring players in, but I would personally say there's not going to be many elite athletes such as World Cup players, Premiership players. There's going to be a lot more lower professionals coming through because that's what the lack of money is, and that's when they need to use youth team players as opposed to the upper teams, the rich teams who don't really need to.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Gareth.
Thank you.